Welcome to Questions of Faith, our next episode. We're going to actually spend 2 episodes talking about our new program, Journeying Forward in Hope, to tie in with our Jubilee year and the Synod. And there's been a lot of talk about the Synod and synodality and synods, and what does that mean? I want to talk a little bit about that today. And to help make sense of it, I want to read a short passage from Luke's Gospel, a story we're all familiar with called the story of Emmaus. As you might remember, this is after the resurrection, and Jesus appears to 2 disciples as they're walking away from Jerusalem. He explains the scriptures to them and then joins them for a meal. And in the breaking of the bread, they recognize who Jesus is. And then he disappears, and they say this: "Then they began telling each other how their hearts were felt strangely warm as he talked with them and explained the scriptures during their walk together down the road. Within the hour, they were on their way back to Jerusalem, where the 11 disciples and the other followers of Jesus greeted them with these words: 'The Lord has truly risen.'" The thing I want to focus on is they say we are on the way. They're on the way back to Jerusalem. This is actually the very first Bible that I ever read, and it's called The Way. And in early Christianity, to describe who a disciple was, they would say they're on the way. And that's where synod comes into place. To define synod, we can really look at it as 2 Greek words. The first is syn, S-Y-N, which means together. And the second one is odos, which means the way or the road. And so the word synod is actually meaning we are journeying together. We are walking together in faith. And that's what the synod is all about. So what is Pope Francis doing? Because the synod is actually not a new concept. The church is ever ancient, ever new. He's breathing new life into how we can be a more synodal church. And let me explain what that means. From the very first parts of our church's history, in the Acts of the Apostles, we hear about the Council of Jerusalem, which you could also say is a synod of Jerusalem. A synod is like a council. And then all throughout church history, there have been synods. They eventually became things where church fathers and bishops and great theologians would come together and talk about all kinds of issues. After the Second Vatican Council, St. Paul VI said, let's start having more regular synods of bishops to gather together and talk about pastoral issues of the church and the church's teaching, especially how it relates to the modern world. And so now, what are we thinking about doing is that we are wanting our church to say, not just on these certain occasions where we have synods, but all the time. What if we embraced the philosophy of what it means to walk together, to journey together in faith? That's what we are trying to do. And to do that means that we all have a voice. We all need to be included in our greater church and our diocesan church, and especially in our local church. We are all co-responsible, which we'll talk more about in the next episode of Questions of Faith. But my question for you, my dear parishioners, is that can we embrace this philosophy, this new way of being church, to be more synodal, to walk together, to journey together in hope? Are you ready to go with me? Because it's going to be a great journey. The Holy Spirit's going to guide us and work through all of us to be this new, amazing way forward in faith. So, let's go.